Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. It's your host Terry, along with my guide Beatrice. We're here in Echo Canyon, Utah. Just stopped at the Echo Canyon Rest, and Bee's carefully guiding me up this hill. And yeah, so Echo Canyon's an interesting place. Plays a big role in the Transcontinental Railroad, but even before that, this is the canyon that leads into, and I'm looking in that direction, of Salt Lake City. And so in the late 1840s, Mormon pioneers came out here to Utah. And keep in mind that the Utah was not a state, it was a territory. And eventually, during the Buchanan presidency in 1858, they decided that, when I say they, the U.S. government, they decided that kind of the Mormons were in, because they practiced polygamy and had some other interesting or odd ways of doing things, that they were in violation of U.S. law. And so the General of the Army, Winfield Scott, decided to send an armed force out here to basically suppress the Mormons. And this is really, what you see now is much wider than it was back then, because now we have Interstate 80 and the Union Pacific Main Line running through here, among other things. Where are we going, B? You got a plan? Come on. So anyway, the Army, there's an armed force sent out here, and I don't recall exactly how big it was, but I could tell you that it was led by Albert Sidney Johnston. Now, if you're a fan of the Civil War, that name might ring a bell, because he eventually, so this is in 1858 that Johnston, as a U.S. Army officer, leads troops out here to suppress the Mormons. And Johnston comes out here and basically discovers that all of the things that people had attributed to the Mormons were, while some of them may have been true, they didn't rise to the level of some kind of insurrection or activity against the U.S. government. And the temple, the LDS temple in Salt Lake City, that everybody kind of has probably seen on TV or pictures, or maybe seen it driving through, was in the process of being built. And so the Mormons were so worried that the troops would destroy it, that they basically buried everything that they had already done to protect it. And so they did that, and U.S. Army troops marched through Salt Lake City, and some people were fearful, and so they had evacuated. And anyway, Johnston finds nothing that he's too concerned about, and basically leaves. And getting back to Johnston's role in the Civil War, so he was born in Kentucky, and he eventually resigns his commission, and he heads out to become an officer in the Confederate Army, and ends up being on the other side of a battle line from Ulysses S. Grant at the Battle of Shiloh. When I come back, I'll tell you about that. Hey everybody, back with you. So the Battle of Shiloh, years earlier, Johnston had been wounded in the leg during a duel. And, Dueling was against the law, but you know, people did it, men did it. And so Johnston, having been wounded in the leg, during a duel, suffered nerve damage. Well, then at the Battle of Shiloh, and this is in April of 1862, and Shiloh is in Tennessee, down on the Tennessee River, so southern Tennessee. He's wounded again in that leg, but he doesn't realize the severity of the wound that he's received, and because he's not feeling the pain and in the leg from the fact that he doesn't have correct nerve function, and so he actually basically bleeds to death from a wound that probably could have been tended to, and he might not have even had to lose the leg. And so you stay, BB. And so anyway, that's the story of Albert Sidney Johnston. By the way, the victorious Union commander in that battle was Ulysses S. Grant. So anyway, what I really wanted to talk about today was, although I like talking about Echo Canyon and Civil War history and stuff, but do you have a no-go list? And what I mean by a no-go list is places that you will not go. And when I say places that you won't go, what I really mean are shippers or receivers, not necessarily a geographic area, or, you know, like some people are like, oh, I won't go to New York City. Not that much actually goes into New York City. Or I won't go to New England, or I won't go to Southern California, or, you know, the usual suspects, right? The normal places people don't want to drive because they think that it's bad. Although, like I've said before, you know, Atlanta's worse to me than LA. You know, Nashville's worse to me than, say, driving in Chicago. But are there places that you're just like, you know what, this shipper or this receiver jerked me around so much that I don't want to go there? And I've started this list. BB, come here. I've started a list. And one place that got on the list, Beatrice, they got on the list because it was supposed to be a drop and hook and ended up being a live load, but I didn't get out of there for 5 hours. And while it was a good paying load, I don't know if I'll get any detention, you know. And, you know, I had another place where it was a receiver, and they had lumpers, and the lumpers got everything out of the trailer. It was a full trailer load. They got everything out of the trailer in less than 90 minutes. You know, and there were a lot of other trucks there too. That was a load from Hershey's, but like the lumpers weren't the ones counting it. It was the company that they were doing the lumping for. And, you know, finally after about 4 hours, I go in there, I'm like, dude, can I get my papers? He's like, you know what? It's these, you know, warehouse supervisors. And so I finally talked to one of those guys, and he's like, yeah, we're just having a lot of trouble with the count. I'm like, it's counting. I mean, that's what I thought. I was like, it's counting, bro. But anyway, stay by Dad. Come here. Okay, so I'm back. Somebody decided they wanted to run right up to B, and she's not about that mess. So anyway, they finally, at this place where they couldn't manage to count the stuff that the lumpers had unloaded, you know, they finally give me my bill stamped subject to count. But I was like, you know, 3 hours earlier they could have done that. You know, it was just a pain in the butt. And then I went to a shipper just the other day where I was told the load would be ready after midnight. And so I show up at like 5 in the morning. I'm like, okay, that's enough, you know, slack or whatever in case they're running late. I get there and they're like, oh, this load doesn't have to be ready till 10:30 tomorrow night. So like 36 hours later or whatever. So I leave, I tell my fleet manager to put another load on me, and it turns out I had to pick another load up at that same facility, which is a meat packer. But unlike some meat packers, this place is a frickin' pigsty. The whole place smells like animal urine. Even the drop lot that's across the road from the actual production facility, it smells like urine, like 1,000 truck drivers peed there. But actually what it is their jockeys are dragging it from, the whole complex, and so it had rained and there were puddles and stuff, and it was just nasty. And the place, you could smell it, quite a ways away. It was, a lot of these places, and I get what's going on, right? I'm an omnivore. But a lot of times where the animals are taken into the facility is kind of out of sight, out of mind type of thing. Not at this place, man. It was like right out in the open. You could hear squealing and just chaos, and it was just a bad scene. And of course it was made worse by the fact that they got this window that's like, yeah, we'll have this load ready between 4 and 6, and you're like, oh, 4 and 6 p.m. No, between the 4th and the 6th of the month. I mean, it's kind of like a cable company or whatever. So that place is getting put on the no-go list. So anyway, I'm just curious if other people have no-go lists. How do you categorize it? What things make you want to be say no to a load from a place? Oops, from a place like that. Anyway, I don't know if you can see it, but I think I don't know if you can see those headlights down there, but there's a train on its way up the mountain here, so you might be able to see that in a little bit. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Everybody be safe, and catch you next time on Tim Travels. Bye.